Pastor Peggy from Slave Lake Wesleyan Church.
And I'm Pastor Diane from Norfolk Wesleyan Church. Welcome to Warm-Hearted Wednesday.
Warm-hearted. I always want to sing a title song at this point.
You know, I have a friend who might be working on that for us, Peggy.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I have contacts. What can I say?
You do. I love Warm-Hearted Wednesday. This, I think, is a really good time to remind everyone why we air this show at 12:30 Central Time.
I think it's a wonderful time, and I suppose you want me to do that.
Well, it's been our habit.
I know. Well, in the Gospel of Mark, the Pharisees come and ask Jesus, what's the greatest commandment of them all? And he says, the greatest commandment is, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And he says that in Mark chapter 12, verse 30. And we need to keep God central at this time, especially, but through all of our lives, right? And so we decided to air this at 12:30 Central Time, which makes that 1:30 here in Norfolk, New York.
And 11:30 here in Slave Lake.
And
Or Alberta.
on the East Coast, it's 2:30.
30. Half an hour later, Newfoundland.
We have a special guest with us today, and I am so excited to hear from this couple. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Hi.
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 My name's Robin White. I'm from Fredericton, New Brunswick originally, but have been living in Japan and working as a missionary for about 12 years now. And this is my wife.
I'm Yoko and I'm Japanese. We got married last April. No, not
Yes.
last April.
Happy belated anniversary.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Just April 30th last year was our wedding, and like I said, I've been in Japan for 12 years as a missionary, and so we're back in Canada now. I should clarify, we're coming to you from Canada, and we're home visiting. Well, we were visiting churches in the area and in Ontario as well, sharing about our ministry in Japan, but now doing that from home at the moment.
So you are a missionary in Japan
Yes.
with the Wesleyan Church,
Right.
and that's where you guys met?
Yes. Yeah.
We met in Japan.
Yes.
Okay.
We started coming to our church a few years ago, and then, well, the rest is history.
Robin, do you speak Japanese?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, he can speak Japanese fluently. Here in Japan, we communicated in Japanese, but now in Canada, I want to improve my English more and more. So, yeah, now in here we try to communicate in English.
Yeah.
I think you're doing really well because you're speaking better English than I will ever speak Japanese.
Thank you.
Yes.
Robin, can you tell us a little bit about your call to Japan, how you ended up going there in the first place?
Sure. Long story short, I actually studied youth ministry in Bible college and didn't plan on going into missions. No plans on going overseas, but after I graduated from Bible college, I had the opportunity to go to Japan just for a year on a one-year English teaching contract. The opportunity just kind of fell in my lap. Actually, I wasn't looking for that kind of work at all, but had posted my resume online on a youth ministry job board, and someone in Japan contacted me, which wasn't what I was expecting. And so I ended up, going to Japan just for a year initially, and had a great experience, and fell in love with the place, and came back to Canada as scheduled, but really felt like I, left my heart there, and God had God was calling me back. And so I think about 4 or 5 years later was when I finally actually went back as a full-time, long-term missionary. But
So what type of ministry do you do in Japan now?
of course, starting out, a big part of my job was learning the language. So I was in full-time language school for my first couple of years, but involved in a local church in Nagoya, where we've been living, and doing a lot of English teaching as an outreach to the community, but also involved in youth ministry and preaching and kids ministries and worship leading, whatever else they asked me to do, really. But I'm also an artist, and I've been involved in a little bit of doing outreach through the arts. I've done some assistant work with a Japanese manga artist who's a comic creator. But we're looking to launch a web-based outreach using manga, which is the Japanese word for comics, as an outreach tool, and it's called Drawbridge Creations, and that's why I'm trying to put the logo on the screen using low-tech means. Yeah. Well, for those who might be watching who don't know about manga, it's pretty popular in Canada and the U.S. now as well. But it's basically, manga is the Japanese word for comics, but in Japan they kind of have their own style of doing it, and it's really popular, and so it's a very well-developed art form, and there's something for everyone, kids or adults or whatever genre you can think of, just like movies in English. Like, it's popular here, but in Japan, like I said, it's really popular. It's part of their culture. And just to put that in perspective, the statistic I always find interesting, in Japan, in 1 week, Japan buys more manga than the US does in an entire year.
Wow.
Right? I should say comics, because not just Japanese comics, but US comics as well.
So would manga be more popular than regular literature?
I don't know if it's more popular, but it's a pretty big part of the book market.
Yeah, comic is more fun
Yeah.
and more relaxed.
Yeah.
So what's the population of Japan?
Japan is about 127 million people.
Okay.
So less than half of the US, I guess, but on a much smaller island.
Yeah.
And a lot more than Canada.
Yeah.
And really much smaller island.
Much smaller.
Yeah. So you've been back in North America since last June, did you tell me?
Yes, we got here the last day of June last year.
Oh, okay. Just in time for Beulah Camp.
Yes, yeah. We got home about a week before camp meeting, and so Yoko was pretty overwhelmed with her first
Many people.
first exposure to the Wesleyan Church, and was everybody at once at Beulah.
Yeah, and thankfully many people tried talk. Oh, congratulations!
Well, yeah, because you were just married at that point.
Yeah, just married, and I grew up going to Beulah, and of course being a missionary and being on district my whole life. A lot of people know me, but they didn't know her, so it was kind of like overwhelming for her, I think.
Oh, I can't remember everyone's name and face.
So I presume that you were preparing to go back to Japan real soon.
Well, we were hoping to go back this summer. Speaking of Beulah Camp, we were hoping to be ready to go around that time and be able to go back in July. But now everything's up in the air, of course. Not just with travel restrictions, but we're still raising support, and that's, I think, slowed down a little bit.
About how far along are you on raising your financial report or support?
We are at about 65%.
Okay.
And that's we're looking for faith promise commitments, so people that are willing to give monthly or yearly for our term, so that we can go there and stay.
Yeah.
So if you go to japanlog.co, there's more information about our ministry in Japan and the need in Japan, and of course how you can get involved if you want to support us or pray for us. So we'd really appreciate it.
How many missionaries and like people do you work with over there that are like in the same team going forward? Are you by yourself, or do you have a support network there?
So yeah, we're with Global Partners, which is the official missions branch of the Wesleyan Church. And we're a very small team in Japan, as I said, but in Japan we partner with an indigenous Japanese church. It's not the Wesleyan Church, but they're basically Wesleyan in theology. And so we partner with them there instead of doing our own thing.
Do you send out like a monthly or quarterly update of what you're doing, and how can we sign up to be either prayer supporters with you in order to be able to get that email, or so that you know that we're praying for you?
We will send monthly prayer letter, and we will send quarterly newsletter. It's long and it includes details more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so people can know our situation, and people that we show our prayer request and what happened in Japan now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to sign up for that, it's again on our website.
I was wondering, could you tell us a little bit about Global Partners?
Sure. Global Partners is the missions organization of the Wesleyan Church, and the Wesleyan Church is all around the world now, in around 100 different countries. But as a missions organization, we have about 161 long-term missionaries or couples, and I think we're in around 80 different fields, different parts of the world. Some fields we are very well established, and old mission fields where the Wesleyan Church exists there because of Wesleyan missionaries, and we're in more of a support role. In our case, like I said, we work with an indigenous Japanese church, which isn't Wesleyan in name anyway, and it's kind of a partnership between different groups, and so Japan is mostly unreached, but the church we work with is well established, and so we're kind of in both of those kind of phases where we're doing pioneer work, trying to reach the 99% in Japan who are still unreached, but also working hand in hand with an established church.
We'd like to share about very important thing about Japan. Japanese is the second largest unreached people group. Yeah, Japan is kind of rich country, but spiritually very poor.
When Robin had said 99% unreached, that really drives it home.
Sure.
Is there a little fun fact that you'd like to share with us about Japan?
In Japan, in Japanese schools, they don't have janitors or custodians to clean the schools every day.
It must get really dirty.
No.
No, really clean.
You know who cleans them?
The students?
Exactly.
Yay!
Genius!
Every day.
Yeah.
Classroom and toilet,
Toilets,
washroom,
So
toilets.
every day they have cleaning time.
I'm going to tell my youth group about this.
One of the things that really fascinates me is how you say hello and goodbye, because you bow.
Right.
And yeah, can you explain that to us?
Okay, so.
So, hello, nice to meet you. Mr. Boydo.
Look at this. So men usually put their hands by their side like this.
Yeah,
Women do
yeah,
this.
women do this. So,
Oh.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I think it's great that you asked, because you two identified certain things that we may not even notice, like, you know, the men with their hands beside and the women with their hands in front, that we just wouldn't really clue into maybe.
And there's different degrees of bowing too,
Yeah.
depending on the situation and the relationship and stuff. If it's a friend, you just nod. But if
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
formal situation, you'll
Yeah, it's
bow more
really
deeply. And
Deeply and slow.
yeah.
Oh.
And that does seem
So-
very
Like-
respectful. Just
Yeah.
the length of time it took for you to do that. It was very
Yeah.
thoughtful and respectful.
How do you say goodbye in Japanese?
Sayonara.
Oh, sayonara.
Yeah, maybe in some movie.
Yeah, you hear
It
that in
becomes
action movies a lot.
Yeah, you do. I was like, I wasn't expecting that. Sayonara. How do you say hello?
Konnichiwa.
I was just going to ask, what does konnichiwa mean? So,
We are with you. We're praying for you. We encourage you. You are doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for both of you guys, for your sacrifice, for your willingness to be able to go wherever God calls you. It is absolutely a beautiful story. So from Slave Lake, Alberta, I am Pastor Peggy Yetman.
I'm Robin
I'm Yoko.
from Beulah Camp in New Brunswick.
and I'm Diane from Norfolk, New York. We will see you tomorrow for Tadpole Thursday. Until then, be safe.
Be healthy.
Be the church.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having us.